How's it going, everyone? Yeah, just to start off, Zhao has asked me to talk about going from schooling into the APB tour. So firstly, I'm just going to discuss kind of what I see I did, or what I did during my schooling career, going to university afterwards, and then heading on to the world tour. And then just a little bit about, sorry, do I have to talk into the mic? Can I just talk normally? Yeah, just about my family and what they're all about and everything that's kind of got me to this point that I'm at the moment. So just to start off, my family is very sports orientated. It was 1 year where each one of us won a South African title in different sporting categories, all water-based. My mom is actually a professional swimmer, holds her SA colours or South African colours in the swimming, and has won multiple titles. My father is a lifesaver in the rowing category, won multiple titles, South African colours, and obviously myself, I've got my South African colours in bodyboarding. So coming from that background, the sport of bodyboarding really came as a passion and then turned into something that is now a profession. In my starting off, I actually had sports at school like you guys host here, and I was fortunate enough to get into this sport, and it was there that obviously we found the love and the passion for the ocean, and it was with this that I started lifesaving and competing in lifesaving, and yeah, just love for the bodyboard really started at that stage. I met a guy called Billy Thiel, which some of you might know, and he was my first kind of coach and mentor into this whole thing, and later actually became a sponsor for my early years on the world tour. So I started competing at the age of about 10 or 11, and this was at a state or provincial level. I was still at school obviously at the time, and at that time I was still doing swimming and lifesaving, and I think those sports really pushed me to getting really competitive in South African bodyboarding. I went and was lucky enough to do the national tour. I won my first South African national title at the age of 12, and then I did it again at the age of 13. It's the only tour that I've ever won. But yeah, and then from there was able to become the tour winner, and yeah, I finished high school with 2 South African titles, and I'm not too sure how many national tour titles that I'd won, but just coming from that sports background at school, it really teaches you a lot of fundamentals and skills that you wouldn't really learn if you weren't there. Competing in sports especially, I feel like as a team and getting that spirit and camaraderie, you really get into a lot of routines and you build relationships, and those are kind of the fundamentals of life. It teaches you a lot of structure and also how to deal with personal and mental strength. I mean, if I didn't have these school sports, there's no ways that I feel that I could have been put in the place that I am at the moment and be the person I am. So after schooling, I kind of was forced into going to university. My mother thought it was a great idea that I did that, and I really appreciate the fact that she did push me into that. It was from about age 18 till I was 21 that I was at university. I got my degree as a Bachelor of Social Sciences in housing, dealing with low-income and poverty-stricken people in South Africa and the policies that are built around these housing platforms that are given to them. In the meantime, while I was still doing this, I worked at a bar and a restaurant as a waiter and bar staff, and at the end of every year, I decided it would be a great idea to start traveling. So I did a trip to Australia and then on to Hawaii for the first year, a trip to the US and on to Hawaii for the second year. And then in the third year, I decided it would be a good idea to go to the ISA Games and then over to the Canaries. I was able to win the drop knee title at the ISA Games, and then I went across to the Canaries where we spent a month there with my mates just traveling around and really enjoying the time. In that time, the university time really gave me a lot of experience working with sponsors and trying to build relationships with these people. Obviously to get better deals and to start traveling, and really found the love and passion for the sport of bodyboarding. In this time, it was also that I had to beg my mother to support me to go overseas, and then obviously on the return you pay that money back, and the following year beg mom for more money, and then again pay it back the year after. So that kind of is was really the backbone of my career and my traveling, was my mother just helping me out and teaching me that, you know, nothing comes without hard work and dedication, and that's what I had to keep doing every year. I'd get back, start working, pay mom back, beg mom for more money, and travel again. So yeah, that was probably the best thing I ever did though. Those 3 years at university really taught me a lot. Allowed me to save up, really focus on what I wanted to do, and I decided to join the World Tour. I found a sponsor in Billy Thiel in 2013 and decided that it would be a good idea to travel across to Brazil and Chile. In the first year, that was really my major event that I was able to do. I landed up coming 5th in the main event in Brazil, and it really just set the sights on what I wanted to do with my life and that these things were actually possible. Went across to Chile and didn't really make it, and continued on the tour, and I think I ended up about 7th in the qualifying tour as it was back then. I then worked towards better goals in 2017 and allowed myself to achieve a 17th on the World Tour and then make it into the 2015 year, where I worked with my sponsor Billy Thiel and was able to actually get a 5th place on the tour and kind of made a name, I guess, for myself in that year. In 2016, last year, was really a breakout year for me. I won my first event in Chile and then my second event here in Vienna, and found GT boards, which really supported me and has really pushed me to where I feel I am this year. This year I've started working with a trainer and someone that's helped me a lot with issues that I had for previous years that I didn't even realize I had. I've gone through quite a big change this year, and it's really all just comes down to the fact that, you know, I've had this support base that has wanted me to kind of achieve what I set out to do. And I mean, obviously this is your family, but it's also the people around you. And yeah, it's just unbelievable to be back here and in Vienna. I wrote like a little to date. I've been competing internationally for 5 years, traveled to more than 10 countries, won 3 World Tour events, podium in 10 events, and had 60 stitches. But it's been a good time, and yeah, just thanks so much for having us. And if there's any questions, please shoot them. Thank you.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
How did being involved in school early on in the school program, like how did that help transition you into being a professional athlete?
I don't know. I think I got a little bit lucky when I was growing up. I mean, my parents kind of drilled me into what they expected out of me, and I mean, the schooling was pretty much the same. It's quite formal back home, so you know, everything is yes sir, no sir, and in that respect, I think becoming a professional athlete, you got to portray those aspects as well as, you know, live up to what people expect from you, and just getting those fundamental skills and those routines of, you know, if you're going to get up for school in the morning, you're going to go to school and you're going to do exactly what the teachers tell you. And I don't think it's very different to how we do it as athletes now and professionals. You got to have that routine. You got to wake up in the morning. You got to want to go train. You got to want to achieve the goals that you set out to achieve. And from an early age, learning that and just continuing to use that throughout my life is just, I mean, you can't really put a cost and a price to that. So yeah.
When you were at university, how often could you surf? Like you said that you were working and studying, so how could did you have time to bodyboard back then?
Yeah, it's crazy because when you want something that bad, you make it happen. So I was lucky enough that, I mean, I was working 3 or 4 times a week, so when you do that, you kind of want to still surf, but you know, you still got university. So after university, I'd go surf. And then if I had to work that night, you finishing assignments at midnight, at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. But if you want it that bad, you make it work, and that's pretty much what I did. In my last year, I failed a subject the previous year, so I had to pick it up. I worked a job, and I also was able to win the tour in South Africa, all in 1 year. So, I mean, yeah, it's just, if you really want to surf, you can make time for it.
I believe that. And another question. I recognize the value that the university had, but for example, in surfing, at least, each time you see the kids abandoning school and doing homeschool, like you have kids with 12 years doing homeschool already. So, do you think that with the years to come and the bodyboarding evolution, is it going to be possible for a professional bodyboard to go to university and still get the world level, or do you think that it's going to start to do homeschool as well and each time sooner?
Well, I mean, when you look at kids, I don't think homeschooling is the way to go, personally. But that's just how I feel, because I'm brought up in our city, I mean, or in our country at least, you know, if you're homeschooled, it's not normal. So I think also when you start to achieve when you're homeschooling, you know, schooling starts to get further and further back on the priority list, and now you want to surf more and more. So you get to the point where you don't actually get your high school diploma or your, you know, finish school or graduate or anything like that, because now you want to just put all that effort into surfing. And yeah, for me, I think schooling and going to school you don't get those kind of experiences as a kid if you know, surfing the whole day as if you were in the classroom learning. And that's, like I said, it comes with routine and all the other things that are built into the schooling program that you can start using in order to become a better athlete. And it makes up, like, if you're waking up early in the morning to go to school, what's to say that you want to wake up early to go train or to go surf? So for me, it's just like schooling just provides those fundamental skills and just the basics for your whole life, pretty much.
Thank you.
Dave again.
I'll just add one thing and then I have a question, but my brother graduated with a master's degree in the same year that you won a world title. So the very, very high level of not only competing but also of education past a bachelor's degree can still be achieved simultaneously. On my own experience, I also went to college and graduated with a bachelor's degree before beginning the world tour competitively. For me, I feel that some of my colleagues that I grew up with, they may have given the shot to bodyboarding at like right after high school, and I feel like if I would have tried right after high school, I would have maybe burnt out, or I might have not hit the right window. As bodyboarders, I think we're all on a common ground where we really have to put a lot in to make this happen. You talk about borrowing money, and a lot of us know about working side jobs. And so you can't really sustain that for too long before you get discouraged. So my kind of question is, do you think that kind of freed you up as a window of opportunity where you were comfortable to start exploring this, but at the same time you knew that if this didn't work out, you weren't going to start scrapping all over again to start going to school, because there can kind of be two battles there. I know for myself, like, I felt comfortable, going after my dream after school, because hey, if it didn't work out, I already had this degree that I could just go right into. But I was going to scrap as hard as I could to make that dream come true. And I wouldn't have to scrap immediately after once if it didn't. So I just was asking about the window of opportunity, and if it's like a good thing to think about. Is this window now, or is school part of the plan that maybe I can see this window after as well?
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, for me it was the perfect thing to do. Like, I wouldn't want to have done it any other way. Just for the fact that once I was finished that degree and everything was done, I mean, the first 2 years I absolutely hated it, because I was like, why am I doing this? There's no point in this. And then by the end of it, I was like, wow, we've already done 2 years here. So it was like, I was super surprised at how quickly it went by. And I mean, I don't feel like I've been disadvantaged in any way, but at the same time, if this wasn't for me, anything could have happened. You could have injuries that come about that, don't allow you to surf anymore. You could have not been able to make it. Whatever the circumstances are, at least, you feel comfortable in, okay, well, that's not working, let's go to plan B. So, yeah, for sure, university for me was a great call, and I really just have to, thank my mother the most part, because she's the one who forced me or pushed me into it. But yeah, I was just lucky to have the opportunity to go, and really just felt comfortable then kind of leaving the comfort of home and venturing out and doing something different. And I definitely don't feel like it's disadvantaged me in any way.